He
He's
has
the
done
one.
it on 72.
Yes.
And he said nobody can do it again at the same way, or like, because after 2 years was the war.
Okay.
So that was the challenge, to prove that again, still now, without solving the problem, it's very similar situation,
Yeah.
as far as I can understand.
And he walked 1,000 of kilometers, right?
Correct.
Oh,
He walked
six-
about 1,000 kilometers.
He says 600 miles, which I think is about 1,000 kilometers. So
Okay.
The best part of the walk is when you walk for 16 days from one side of Cyprus to the other. For me, it's something that I believe that every Cypriot should do. When you walk, you absorb so much more information from nature, and you understand distances like.
Okay, after 11 episodes, we decided to do game of politics in English, because we have the honor to have two good friends. One actually is one of my best friends. We used to be in Australia for 2 years together, and Stavros. And we have the honor to have Yalcin as well. And they came here to tell their story about how we can unite Cyprus, because the main, as far as I can understand it, the main message is that we have to try to again and again to unite Cyprus. Guys, welcome.
thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, and let's start with Stavros. Stavros, tell us two things about you, how you end up in Australia and how you met Yalcin. And I'm going to ask then his idea about the documentary.
I didn't want to go to Australia. I was 17 years old, so my parents dragged me there. I grew up in Cyprus, and I met Yalcin in 2003 or 4.
Yeah.
It's about 20 years ago, in one of the bicommunal events, which was organized by a group of people in Australia called the
Latrobe Project.
The Latrobe Project.
They are in Australia?
They're in Australia, yeah.
At the Latrobe University.
So it was an initiative by some academics to have from the Center of Dialogue to start have the conversation, and it was at the time their first before the Annan Plan to reunite Cyprus, so it was part of those events, and that's one of those events I met Yalcin. But we got closer together when you came for your first documentary, 101 Windows.
Yes.
And I hosted Yalcin in my house in Paralimni at the time, and we stayed together for a few days, and we got to become closer.
We want to hear your story, Yalcin.
Yeah.
So, we know that you are a doctor. What kind of doctor you are? The real doctor, or it's a PhD?
You asked the same. You actually say the same thing as my wife. She says you're not a real doctor. you can't actually prescribe anything. But I'm a doctor, I suppose, of science, scientific research. So I was researching kidney disease, especially in people with diabetes. And so I understand quite a bit about how it filters and what goes wrong in diabetes very, very early on. And I love the research. And I produced a number of papers as well, and they were published internationally. But I had to let this career go. It was too hard wasn't friendly for the family. Too many hours in a lab coat, white lab coat, no friends. So no social life, not much money, not good for a family, really.
Okay, as far as I know, the Australian government is supporting the research, at least.
Yes.
So they pay a lot of money for the research. I don't know about the life after the research, but...
When did you move to Australia?
1973. So this year is 50 years since we moved to Australia, and like Stavros...
At the age of?
7.
7,
So
okay.
I resisted going as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think I threw more of a tantrum than Stavros did. They had to drag me into the car.
Right. It's important for the people to know that you were born in Cyprus, because it's not the same mentality as far as I met people there that they were born there and they have no idea, they have never been to Cyprus. Yeah. So at least you have the same background, and probably you're gonna tell us this is the force may that bring you together. And tell us about the idea, about the documentary, how this idea started.
Yeah, Stavros mentioned earlier that after we did these rapprochement workshops in Australia, I came to Cyprus and he hosted me and introduced me to his friends. But I brought my bike. I brought my bike here and a camera, a movie camera. And
Hero, let's say, something like that.
Pardon me?
Hero, these are the...
No, it was bigger than that. It was a Sony handheld, and you could put it on a tripod. And what my aim was to go around and ask Cypriots if they found the Regina's famous 101st house or room or window, what would... and they could actually ask for something from paradise, what would that be? And I asked Stavros this question. I also asked the president at the time, Christoph Yass, as well. So I've got a small documentary, 15-minute one, very amateur, with some very interesting responses from, I want money, I want my like my grandmother said, I just want order in the world and health.
My son is saying, I want 1,000 more wishes.
That's it. That's clever. Stavros, what he said actually impressed me. It stayed with me. And it was actually something I believed in too, but I could never actually express it like he did at the time. So this walk that we did in 2018 has its roots in that friendship, I suppose, we established back then, where I got to know him and his friends, and he trusted me to introduce me to his friends as well. I think this walk that we did built on that. It's on a much bigger scale, because it was essentially to recreate in some way Colin Thurbrand's walk in Cyprus in 1972.
Okay, because I know Stavros very well. Who have seen that for first time, about the English guy who has done the work? You or Stavros?
Me.
You. And you tell the story to Stavros?
Yes.
And first of all, you didn't tell us what Stavros said when you asked him?
Stavros is best to say that, but
Tell us what you said.
I knew you were going to be curious about that. No, I just said something that I actually hope not for just Cyprus, but for the whole humanity, which is to see the other person for who they are. So I said, I wish that one day the people of Cyprus would be able to live regardless of color, ethnicity, or religion, freely, with no discrimination.
Out of the podcast now.
I've said it inside the documentary as well, but I truly believe in it. I think that another person what the fabric of their DNA is irrelevant. We have to treat everyone the same. And I keep it through my whole life. If I meet a new person, regardless of who they are, I try to treat them with the same respect. Of course, there are bad people and good people, right? When you don't know someone, though, you have to treat them exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay, and when did you decide to like actually do this documentary? How long it takes in terms of days and kilometers that you walk?
So you asked who came with the idea. I said Yalcin.
No, the idea is another thing. The to know that another guy has done it, and was, as far as I know, was a challenge that nobody can do it again. So with the same way, yeah. This is what he said.
So what he said, Colin Thuban, what he said was very annoying to me. Was in 1972, in his travels around Cyprus, he saw the halcyon times. That is the peak, the best times where Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots can live together, and that time would never return. And so I was very annoyed with that comment. I thought Cypriots were being robbed of their future, and this is what I say in the documentary as well. And I believe Cypriots actually have that choice to make about and tell their story and not be told. And so I wanted to embark on this walk. And the first person that came to my mind about doing this walk and didn't know what shape it would take, like he walked 1,000 kilometers around Cyprus and he started in different places. But I invited Stavros to do this walk with me, and the best thing that ever happened was he said yes.
And then you took place, because I know you from the adventure club we used to have there. You took them up, you opened them, you calculate the routes, right? You took the GPS.
you know me too well.
And then you calculate how many kilometers?
We did way more kilometers than what we calculated.
Okay.
So it was meant to be about 360 kilometers. We did over 400.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't know exactly. It's a bit. We had Yalcin had a Strava, a recorder.
You didn't have a smartwatch.
Similar.
No smartwatch at the time.
No smartwatch at the time, but we calculated the routes, and it was kind of 416 or
yeah, it was around 410.
yeah. So the number is irrelevant anyway.
Yeah, because
so it was
people don't understand until they see the documentary how the routes they are like this.
Yeah, if you look at the map of Cyprus and you calculate the route, it's about 360 kilometers. When you're going like this, it's a little bit more.
Very true.
And yeah, I said yes, of course, straight away. In fact, I had an idea, like I wanted to do something to bring awareness, or I had a lot to say about the situation in my country, which I don't like, and I wanted to do something. I didn't know exactly what. So Yalcin calls me out of the blue and tells me I have this idea. And I said yes, of course. Yeah. So then he started the planning. Yalcin initially, if you remember, you told me you read the book and you said this guy walked around Cyprus and his route was not linear. And he said maybe we just do a small walk, maybe from the Teke in Larnaca to Kerinia or the other way around. And I said, why don't we just go from one side to Cyprus, from the most eastern point to the west. So, and that's what we did. Oh, the other way around, we didn't.
Yeah.
So
I remember...
You started from Apostolos Andreas, and you arrived to
Petra Duromniu, or Aphrodite's Rock, 16 days later.
But I saw the map that you walk, that is in the beginning of the documentary, and there it was like.
This was the English
That's
guy.
the
has
English
done.
guy.
That's the English guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
He
He's
has
the
done
one.
it on 72.
Yes.
And he said nobody can do it again at the same way, or like, because after 2 years was the war.
Okay.
So that was the challenge, to prove that
Yeah.
again, still now, without solving the problem, it's very similar situation.
Yeah.
As far as I can understand.
And he walked 1,000 of kilometers, right?
Correct.
Oh,
He walked
six-
about 1,000
He
kilometers.
says 600 miles, which I think is about 1,000 kilometers. So
Okay.
I don't think he even knows because he.
He didn't have Strava back then.
No, yeah, he had an iWatch, but it didn't have Strava on it.
And what was the main purpose of the documentary? What you had in mind when you were walking?
Yeah, look. Firstly, the documentary was a real passion of Stavros's, and it was secondary to me at the time. To then completing the walk, I thought if we can have a documentary, maybe with our phones, maybe with a GoPro, and we put something together. I mean, I've done amateur things before. That's a good thing. I thought, that we would have won. We've walked across Cyprus, a documentary, but it grew. It got legs. And we tried to find somebody who could actually, firstly, in Cyprus, who could help us do this. And the quote came back, 20,000 euros. And said, forget that. We can't afford that. We don't have that sort of money. And then I invited a cousin of mine to help and promote, and maybe we can raise some money to get maybe a film crew or some equipment, and we can bring it over with us. And then it kept on growing, and we got a small film crew together, and cameraman, etc. And they came out with us. I'm jumping right ahead now, and to follow us, and with a drone, with proper high resolution cameras, take photos as well. We had GoPros, and we used iPhones.
How much money you had from the crowdfunding?
We had about was it 10 or 12?
About 10,000 euros, I would say.
10,000 Australian dollars.
Australian dollars, but with the money that we put ourselves, it was about 10,000.
With the money we put ourselves, over 10,000 euros, I'd say. Eventually, I actually sold my caravan in order to help finish this documentary off. And, the family's not pretty upset with me because we don't have our family trips, and I've got to somehow make up for that. But
it's a new canvas, yeah.
Okay.
One caravan for one documentary now.
Hopefully, the documentary can recoup some of that caravan money back.
Yes.
When Stavros told me the idea, I remember he told me the idea. I asked him if Stelios Adioannou has any funds about that, because he's promoting. These United initiatives.
He has. We applied, but we didn't get.
No,
We were not selected.
We did apply to those awards.
Can you apply now?
I think we can. You can
apply
reapply.
I applied twice.
I applied once.
So let's go to the preparation. What you have done to be ready? As far as stuff as I know, as far as Yalcin.
Well, I actually did do a lot of preparation. At the time, I lived in Mount Dandenong. You may remember if you were in Melbourne. It's on the outskirts of Melbourne. It's 650 metres high. It's nowhere near as big as some of the mountains around here. But I kept on building, getting a lot of kilometres into my legs. I knew I was ready when I walked 24 kilometres with about 15 kilograms on my back, and I could also at the same time go up and down the mountain, like in some parts 3 times. And I thought, I'm ready to go. And I also had walking sticks, and I need that because
You did that in Australia?
I did that in Australia because I'm 50 years old. I needed as much of an advantage as I could get.
In the other side, I'm sure that it came.
This is what I was about to ask.
I'm ready. Like this.
Did you prepare your body? Or?
No, I didn't prepare my body. I did hiking, and I thought I never imagined that could get cramps or not be able to complete a walk from walking, because I never felt exhausted by walking. Even when I did like 30-kilometer hikes, I didn't feel tired. But I thought, with playing football should be enough.
Tennis.
No, tennis is different. It's start and go. Football is more endurance. But after the first day we walked a marathon, 42 kilometers. So it was, as I said, the second day was really tough. In fact, the second day I got injured.
Let's fast forward everything. What's the main thing that you get out of the documentary?
Well, we've already screened it, I think 4 times. And it's been, I think, a cross-section across the community. I can't say that it's the whole representation in any way in Cyprus, but we have seen people really emotionally engage with it. Firstly, I didn't realize this is something that I did not know I was going to get out of it, how much people appreciated the geography of Cyprus and how they hadn't actually maybe realized that some of the mountain ranges or fields or it could be so full of flowers or the peaks and troughs. It's I don't think people have seen Cyprus as a whole like this in a while, and so that was a really nice surprise to actually get that from Cypriots, that we could actually allow them to share a little bit of what we saw.
The scenery, the
scenery,
from the other side, both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Both sides.
There's something you're saying, because we have that expression that even in general, Cypriots doesn't know Cyprus because they don't do a lot of traveling inside Cyprus. So I can understand that. I haven't been to the other side. I feel I don't feel okay to show passport to go in my own country.
Yes.
I haven't been, so I don't know.
You don't know what you lose.
Okay, understand it. I want to go once we have a solution. This is my point of view.
Did you have any like this kind of concerns or doubts to show your passport to the checkpoints? First of all, have you ever been before in south and in north?
I came in 1993 to the south before the checkpoints were open.
Yeah.
And
how that happened?
Australia.
I came from Australia with my Australian passport.
Yeah.
And I was determined to see Cyprus completely and go to my parents' villages. My father is from Goshi and my mother is from Kelia, which is in Larnaca. And so back then there was no iPhone and digital or anything. I took pictures with a Polaroid and I posted it to them to see what the village was like. And I fully wanted to work in Cyprus, learn the language. Unfortunately, I didn't, because I met someone and I got distracted and we ended up, traveling instead. But it's not unfortunate. And then I got married, of course, and I had two kids as well. But that's
he came to
side.
Cyprus, and
you met your wife?
In Drodas, he wanted to work in the in the Greek side, not in the.
Yeah, but you met your wife in Cyprus?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I met her in Cyprus.
She's Turkish Cypriot?
She's English.
English, okay.
Yeah. But
What
that's
about
my
you?
ex-wife now.
Have you ever been before in North?
Before the tour.
Documentary, yeah.
Yes, I have. You asked whether if it's easy to show passports in your own country. No, it's the worst thing that you can do. But for me, it's more important to visiting and learning and getting to love the other half of my country is more important than the gesture of showing
This is exactly
passport.
the way I'm looking at it.
So I think it's important to. I understand what you're doing. My father is the same, but I made a conscious decision that I need to learn and love the other half of my country.
Understand it. I'm not saying that what I'm doing is wrong or right or whatever.
Yeah,
No,
of course.
But this is my point of view. Probably
Yeah.
tomorrow I will change my mind, but this is what I think today. All right. A part of the Stavros, tell us about what you learned. What is the highlight of the documentary for you?
I'll tell you about the highlight of the walk because the documentary
Of the?
is the walk.
Ah,
Because the documentary is based on the walk.
but the work was not the best part for you. Because
The
you have a
work
lot
was-
of cramps. I saw you a lot of times stopping, doing stretching.
No, the walk. The best part of the walk is when you walk for 16 days from one side of Cyprus to the other. For me, it's something that I believe that every Cypriot should do it. When you walk, you absorb so much more information from nature, and you understand distances. Like I've done Paphos to Nicosia hundreds of times.
But you can do the same thing with Wilson Promontory. For
I've
example.
done Cyprus to Nicosia many times, but to walk Cyprus to Nicosia, Nicosia to Paphos, was much like the context of space and the nature, the beauty of Cyprus is much elevated. The point where your car cannot, the gravel road finishes and the car can no longer go and you can just walk. That's the best part of Cyprus for me.
So now you can say that you can talk the talk and walk the walk.
Well, that's right.
Where was that place that you were sitting with many people? It was night, and you
Flash.
created the symbol of peace, and you had like a
Flasso.
flash.
Plus.
Okay.
Yes, it was Flash.
So Flash, it's a village in just before Trodos or the Propodes. How would you say it?
At the foothills.
So the
foothills,
foot
yeah.
tips of Trodos.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Dinos, good friend of mine, who also used to live in Australia. It's his property, and he gathered a group of his friends to welcome us. And we had a bit of a...
So that was a part of your preparation before the documentary. I mean, you contacted people that were willing to help you with.
Well, yes, we did. We did a lot of planning, and take for instance in the north, we didn't know the terrain at all, and we wanted to walk through some rough areas, and there would have been roads we would have got lost in, but we got the help of a local hiker, Tuberk, and we're very grateful to him to help us and guide us through some trails that haven't. Some of them are, like over 1,000 years old. Monks used to walk them and that sort of thing, and he's marked them out. You can.
We've seen Roman roads in the middle of. You just walk in the middle of nowhere, and then you see these Roman road stones. I never thought that they existed in Cyprus. I was surprised.
Yeah.
That's in the very north, like Karpasia,
Yeah.
Rizzokarpas, so close to Rizzokarpas.
Yeah.
So
was
what's the
amazing.
plans for the documentary from now on? I know you show it in Nicosia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the plans?
But I think there's only like a handful of screenings to go, and that's it.
And after that, we like to... We want as many people, of course, to view it as possible. And yeah, we'll probably try to get into some film festivals. And then online, maybe YouTube.
Nice. Hopefully you can give us to us and have it in our platforms, but you understand that you spend some money, personal money, and then somehow you have to make some back at least, and maybe somewhere that you can make some money back at least. This is the one part. The main part that I wanted to come here, just wanted to discuss about the perception you have about the problem. First of all, do you see it as a problem? Do you have in your mind some kind of solution? And I'm always curious because I didn't have the opportunity to have a lot of Turkish Cypriots around me. I'm very, very, very curious to know what's the story they are learning about Cyprus. Because I heard a lot of guys in the internet saying totally wrong facts about what's happened. I understand that you are on the part of wanting Cyprus to get united, but I want to hear from you, Yalcin, what is the story you learned growing up about Cyprus?
Yeah, my experience may be different to a lot of other Cypriots, but my grandfather could speak fluently in Greek. My father can as well. And so I've always had the perception that we sort of lived together. There was a history there. My father worked across Cyprus, and he was selling things, and he's a very good salesman. So I grew up, and they brought us up never with any sort of discrimination in our hearts, and so I think that's probably a starting point.
As far as you know the history of Cyprus,
Yeah.
the first inhabitants came to Cyprus, they are from Greece. Then we have a lot of invaders, a lot of them, and then eventually the Ottomans came to Cyprus. They lived here for 300 years, so a minority was living in the island for at least 300 years. So carry this percentage or whatever it is, I don't know exactly, and then we know that after the colony of England, we were living together peacefully, and then we know the solution of what's happened on 1960, okay, that we have this 18%, 82%, and we had the president, Turkish Cypriot had the vice president, and all this kind of stuff, okay. From that, I believe that probably this is a common history. I don't know. Is it or not?
The way I look at it is, I suppose this comes back to our walk to the original Cypriots were here like 10,000 years ago. They found some barbecued pygmy hippopotamus bones, and this is the spiritual center of Cyprus. There's, barbecues were happening 10,000 years ago, and they're preserved around the mountains of Kyrenia. So after that, and I think there's been like 17 civilizations that have come and gone, and Cyprus has been has had many capital cities around it. And I'm putting this very simply, and I try and look at it in that context. What I really appreciate about Cyprus is you only have to dig a little bit and you discover some history. And I really love the archaeology, love the culture, and it's including the religions as well, and the practices, and the people who are at the center of all of this. More recent history, it's really messy. It's not very clear to me. I don't know if it's clear to anyone else. And when you look on social
it's clear
media,
because we know our part of the history. For us, it's clear, but this is what they taught us. We don't know. We haven't been born to know the truth, because if you don't know from your eyes, you cannot be 100% sure. Okay, and again, there are perceptions, the way you see something. I get the point that we are all Cypriots, yes? This is the point.
Yes.
But the problem with that is that we don't see the problem. Because if we want to have any kind of solution, this is my point of view, okay? Don't know even know if Orestis agree or Stavros. I'm curious to learn. We have to specify the problem in order to give a solution. I'm not focusing on the problem. I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care what's happened. I believe everybody can live with everybody. This is my opinion. So, but there are going to be some numbers that you have to base the solution. This is the way you give solution. Otherwise, you don't have a starting point.
So maybe I can just make a couple of points.
Yes.
And, I'm not sure if this is going to completely answer what you're saying. Firstly, I think we need to be objective about it. When you're inward looking, it's a lot more difficult to see the trees from in the woods, if you know, or the woods from the trees. So I think that having lived in Australia for so long, with maybe a little bit of an objective point of view, having looked from across the oceans, etc. So, having lived in a different, makeup of the political structures and things like that, you gain a different perspective. So that's very important. I think is learning to understand perspectives and that there are various models and various ways we can have this solution. I think that's the main thing I wanted to say.
Well, I think what you're saying, Anastasis, is like truth-telling. Truth-telling is very important if you want to have true reconciliation. So you cannot have reconciliation without digging into the true history and find the roots of the problem.
Okay, for example, I don't like absolute opinions that Cyprus is Greek or Cyprus is Ottoman. I hate all this bullshit. So the absolute about anything, it's not me. So this is a starting point.
So what I wanted to say is that to dig into the truth,
yes,
it's not a conversation we can have in 15 minutes or 1 hour.
I understand
it's a long academic process that I spent. It's probably a coincidence, but I spent when I met Yalcin and some other Turkish Cypriots, and they told me a different version of the history that I learned, and then I thought they were wrong and I was right, and I dig into it. You know how deep I went to the rabbit hole to find the true answers? I read this website, it's called Conflict of Cyprus, and there is archives of speeches of Magarios and Kutchuk, and like the amount of work that I've done to learn the true history, because I really wanted to go as deep as possible to find the true problem, and I found lots of truths that I was not comfortable with, because there are things
I'm familiar with that comfortable truth. I'm not blinded and I don't see the problem. It was a problem then, but this is the absolute problem. It's a one side, the far right. Okay, and again, in any solution, this is gonna be again a problem.
But it is a problem because we have a ethnocentric education, which does not stay at learning objective historical truth, but it presents history from a point of view which suits a narrative.
For example,
I saw 2 weeks ago a short film called Sharing an Island, which was 3 Turkish Cypriots and 3 Greek Cypriots living together in a house and walking around Cyprus, like 8 years ago. And the first scene of the documentary was them in a buffer zone. I think that was in old Nicosia airport, and discussing about the history facts. And in the first 5 minutes of their discussion, they realized that they know different facts. They know different history.
Yeah.
This is what we have to realize.
Yes, exactly. And one of the what I'm trying to say, it is a very important conversation to have. No, back to our film though. We're not trying to talk about that. We're trying to. I think there is a girl. If you look at the documentary, I think it's your cousin. She said, "I want to put the past to the past where it belongs."
Yes. Yeah.
So, regardless, you said before you don't care about the problem. You admitted that. Yes, we have to discuss the past, but at the end of the day, no matter what the past is, no matter what the truth is, we have to acknowledge that it has to stay in the truth, and we have to turn a blank page and build the future together.
Can I just add something there? This is a very, very important point. This truth-telling is extremely important, and we're going through a similar process in Australia as well, and it is a process that takes time, and I don't think Cyprus has gone through it yet, where we've had people honestly be able to come into one place, say their truth, what they've experienced, the hurt, the atrocities that have come forward, and so to be able to vent openly and to be heard by the other side, if you know what I mean. So this is a very, very long process. Once you've been able to air your grievances, speak your truth, then you give yourself a chance, maybe with a clean slate, to then start talking, what is the solution going to be? How do we want things to work in the future? What principles do we want to structure?
All right, in this way, we have to wait another 100 years in order to have a solution. You have to expect to heal all the wounds, and nobody remembers about anything, and then start conversing. I totally disagree, because if we wait a little bit more, there is not going to be any solution. Okay. This is my opinion.
Okay, why don't we have Turkish language in the Greek schools? It can happen tomorrow.
This is not.
And Turkish language in the Greek language in the north.
This is going to be a solution if we have it.
No, it's going to be a step.
Yeah, it's going to be a step.
I don't need that step to give the solution.
Why?
We came close to a solution. We said no. Turkish people said yes. No. Okay. Now the demographics of the other side, as far as I learn, is changing rapidly. Okay. More Turks are coming. More foreigners are coming. More developing hotels, villages. So we don't have to start a conversation between Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriot, which I believe we can solve it in 3 nights. If we discuss and have some drinks, we can solve the problem. Okay, and be honest and open.
I think we say in our documentary, and actually Dr. Michalis Michael says, if the politics actually gets out of the way, Cypriots will achieve a lot more in getting progress.
I disagree, and I told you where I disagree, because we are the future politicians. If we don't have in our mind the blueprints of the solution and do it right now, in 10 years, 15 years, we're not going to have a solution. We're going to have 2 separate countries.
But Anastasis, we have to take into consideration something else. Even if tomorrow we had the absolute ideal solution of Cyprus problem, do you believe that 2 communities now, with the feelings that they have right now, could live together?
Yes. I have seen that. I have seen that in my life in Gomodini. So, no, I have seen it.
Yeah,
Living together. So, you're telling me with my experience if they can live together? Yes, they can. You cannot take this experience out
I
of me.
do believe it as well for myself and for you as well.
Right. I understand that there are far right parties and far in both communities that they don't want it. And you said something that is very wise, that about the cross on the documentary, that people that destroy the cross from the cemetery, that you said something that is okay, but I believe the same thing, that they don't want solution. I agree. So all these kind of people, you're gonna have them in front of you. I believe it's a minority. Okay, but the time for me is a problem. We have to act now. We have to get our generation. We are 40, 50. We have to get the responsibility and demand and do whatever we can to find a solution the next now until the 10 years from now, because otherwise I have the feeling that it's not going to be a solution. This is my point of view.
I understand the urgency as well. The first step is really to keep calm about this. There is,
I'm always like this, sorry. Don't expect me to be something else.
but I think I go back. Let's go back to the Unknown Plan, where you said, the Unknown Plan actually had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission built in. It was part of the process. It was part of the solution.
I don't agree with that Unknown Plan. Anyway,
So-
the second solution was much better.
I actually do believe in putting the past in the past, but the way you go about doing that is expressing what it is that has been the grievance, and then you can then move forward and look to the future. We do need to put the past into the past. Otherwise, yes, we can't build the future. What is the target? What is the vision? How do we want things to work?
Okay, from my point of view again, and I'm not going to say anything else, I put the past on the past because you have to understand my father went to war. He fought that fight, which was a bullshit fight. Okay, I don't believe that something happened then. Okay, and my father, not grandfather, whatever, went to war, and I put everything behind me. And I don't want to know it. I want to know, but I want to leave everything behind and live together. I haven't, I lived the experience in Greece, never in Cyprus, but I have the feeling that we can live together. So from me, I have done that step. It's about everybody to do the same step. There is an expression saying that you have every 5 years, you may better know that, you have no cell that is the same.
Yes,
that
so that's 5 to 7
years ago.
Even
So
to your
imagine
bones.
that we
Yeah.
are living with some ideas that maybe it's a perception of the idea. It's not even the truth. We don't know if it is the truth. We know they aren't part of the truth. So what I'm saying is not about me. It's not about people coming together. It's about the problem is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, not from Turkish Cypriot or Greek Cypriot, from other elements that we don't control.
It gets more complicated.
Yes.
As time passes, it gets more complicated. People building the properties that belong to, like the Perusιακόν, I don't know how. It gets more complicated over time.
Because
Everything
it's not
will
about
get-
only the two
the
communities.
demographics in the north. Yalcin's family was telling me, or Yelis was telling us today, that the north of Cyprus is no longer recognizable. The Turkish Cypriots are a minority in the north.
Okay, and that's why I told you about numbers.
So-
you say numbers are irrelevant. Okay, we know 18% because of the institution on 1960.
Yeah, I tell you the figures. I looked them up yesterday. Yeah, 1.25 million people living in the south, and 550,000 living in the north.
500.
550,000. So the population is 1.8 million, the population of Cyprus.
So it means that it's one.
So it's about
1 quarter,
65, 35.
which is not bad. Again, imagine that the land,
So, but from
the land is not
from
divided even like this.
But
imagine.
but the population of Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots in the south, that's a different story.
I know it's a different thing.
Yeah, the issue.
So I think it's not relevant.
Well, it's irrelevant.
No,
It
it's
is
irrelevant.
relevant
No.
because if you squeeze from the other side the Turkish Cypriot part, and the Turkish take the government, whatever it is, they can do whatever they want. Okay, I don't believe that. This is my point of view. I don't believe that somebody can come in any country without the right way to come. Okay, I'm not.
Yeah, but it happens all the time through history.
Yeah,
And we
no,
cannot
no,
stop it
no.
from happening. It's happening now.
There are two ways to go there: not having your papers or inventing a country. Okay, I don't like both ways.
Of course, but that's the history of humanity.
Yeah.
Every country exists
Okay.
because it was in the past. It was
Okay.
invented by someone.
Okay, I don't like the idea of somebody coming there to the other side, be the majority, and decide about Turkish Cypriot, and not the Turkish
Yes.
Cypriot decide about their side.
Now, I just want to go back to something Stavros said in our documentary. I mean, something we can all do today is some gestures. I mean, we can actually talk about the politics and these problems, but there needs to be some sort of positive action that's taken today, and that could be as simple as having a coffee with a Turkish Cypriot somewhere, or some sort of gesture, as Stavros put it. I think the sort of the peace and the agreement comes slowly through this, and if it's done on a mass basis, these small gestures, then you're well on the way to your target.
Can I go back to what something I said before?
Yes.
I said before about the Greeks in the Turkish language in the Greek schools and the Turkish language in the Turkish schools. That's a confidence building measure that was suggested in 2004 or even before. The other gesture was the flag on the mountain, Pentadactylos, to be removed. Those are measures, confidence building measures, that were suggested 20 years ago. And they're very simple measures that can show the other side that we're willing to do the first step. But they haven't been done. And it's not hard. Like if someone is listening to me from the government now, I'm telling you, please do something about it. You can make that. Why do we learn French in school and not?
Okay, it's the same. It's the same answer for me.
I'll tell you why it's the
I
same
met my
answer.
French teacher 30 years ago, you know what I told her? I told you I will never use French in my life, and you are insisting to learn French. Okay, nobody's gonna make you learn a language that is, not so useful in the world
But
to do something.
it's very
Because
useful for us to learn the Turkish,
Okay,
to each other's language.
It's an official language.
I understand it. If you want to learn it, learn it. Nobody's gonna say no. But if you're gonna do business, you're gonna learn Russian, for example. It's gonna make you more money. It's
not all about money and career and job. It's about creating.
But I don't believe this is a measure that is gonna help. This is my idea. You know what? This is a measure to help. Take this politician in a hotel, lock them there for 20 days, and let them. If you don't solve the problem, you're not gonna have to eat, and they will solve the problem. Okay. I don't believe. I understand that we have to come together. You are open-minded or not, you can understand that everybody is the same, and you can live with each other. Otherwise,
totally agree. We have.
Otherwise, this is the base. Learning a language. Okay, I believe I cannot understand how it's going to solve the problem.
Okay, I'll put it into you are married.
Right.
I don't know. You are married. Your wife is telling you that I'm not happy in my relationship.
Right.
Yeah, And I say, okay, what can I do? He goes, you're not showing me enough love. Yeah. And then the next day, she sits on the table and you pour her glass of wine, you put her chair out, you get some flowers. And then that's the gesture is not important.
You choose the wrong guy, my
It's
man.
not-
I'm
it's
doing
not
it
important.
when I feel
The
it. I will not do it.
The
because
gesture
it
is not
has to do it.
important. That's how the other person is going to receive it.
Understand. And Yalcin said the same things about the gesture. I understand it. I really appreciate what you have done. I really think that you need balls to do that. Okay, everybody from the comfort zone, it's easy to say what they can say. And honestly, it's you get that expression and you put it in the real life. You talk the talk and you walk the walk. Man, you know that I appreciate you anyway, but doing these things, it's really unbelievable. And it's something that you can start. For me, this is a promotional tool. This is my expertise. What you have done is a promotional tool to give to the other people that we can live together. You don't have to convince me. I have my theories, but I believe everybody can live with everybody. What you have done, it's a very, very good starting point. I know that you are not the only guys doing similar things, but you know, I'm saying my opinion loud, but I honestly congratulate you about that documentary. I'm not taking anything out of this, but I want to have, you know, to say my opinion loud because we don't have the opportunity a lot of time to discuss about the politics and the problem. I don't care about the problem, honestly, but we have to set the ground. The ground is 1, 2, 3, and find a solution. Okay. The only problem I believe is the time. I don't know if you have the same feeling, but this is what I have in my mind, that if we keep it pushing it and pushing it, it's not going to help.
What I believe is that projects like this, it's a way to put pressure in politicians. Politicians feel pressured only when the majority feels in a way. Now the majority, and that's why I told you before that I don't believe that if tomorrow we have a solution, people could live together, because we didn't vision it. We didn't create in our mind this situation that we could live together. If people that really want the solution get the majority of the population, then politicians will make it in a day, in a week, in a month. I mean, it's not that difficult.
I agree with you, and I want to actually put it to you another way as well. There is an enormous opportunity here for Cypriots to actually do something. We've been inspired the last day or so by people we met in a screening. One group that is planning to run relays across Cyprus in groups, and they're going to be in teams handing over batons to one another after 20 kilometres. It's a bi-communal event, and they were asking us to feature our documentary to their teams to inspire them. But we were inspired by people who came along. Like there's another group called the Winds of Change, and they is a bi-communal yachting sort of group, and they recently did a circumnavigation around Cyprus. It was bi-communal. They could still steer the ship. They didn't crash it or anything around. They went around the circle and completed it. And these are the opportunities that wait for Cypriots, you know. And I suppose I invite yourselves and your listeners to actually think of the next best thing. We did something which worked for us. Fortunately, it actually brought us closer together rather than pushing us apart. People who stayed together for too long, they can't stand each other, but we ended up on the majority. We loved each other's company.
Yalcin, the reason of having this podcast, and we call it Game of Politics, is we want to democratize the politics. Okay, we want to make simple for everybody to understand politics. Okay, to be involved with politics, nothing wrong. Okay, it's a good thing, and as much people we have involved in this is better. And this is today the main reason having this podcast is to start a domino effect. Is for anybody who can see what you achieved and think about the next move, and then the next move, and then the next move, and paying forward all these movements, we're going to create a majority that Orestis said. I really agree. The politicians, if we're going to be politicians, we care about the majority. Okay? If we don't have the majority with us, we're not going to have the next election. If we think about people, I mean, the good of people, or for our share even. So the creating a domino effect with similar acts, this is going to create a majority. And I believe it's more powerful than language, than Turkish or Greek, for my opinion.
I disagree. I believe that the
I didn't say that the language is the only thing. I'm just giving it's an example of a small gesture that we have not been willing to done for 20 years.
I also think, if I can put my 2 cents in here as well, language actually a different language introduces you to different things. You have a different sense of humor. And we went through this process of doing the subtitling for our documentary. It was very complex because the English translation to Greek is not exact, and vice versa, Turkish as well. And I actually learnt a lot through the process, even how you express holy water. Or blessed water, or healing properties in water that we were talking about in Apostolos Andreas.
You put Google Translate of the English word, this gives you a different word. That holy word, that ayasma. So Yalcin was like checking my work, not trusting my subtitles. So he used Google Translate. But now the point he's trying to make is that if you do the translation literal, it's going to be different. So the way a language expresses, it's one thing. But even today, I was asking you, how do you address in Turkish? How do I address your father? Because in Greek, for example, if you address someone older than you, you might say "Gemi Hali," or for example. In Turkish, your father is I'll say "Halil abi." Yeah, like you add the abi, and it's like a more polite and friendly way of expressing it. And it would be nice for us to learn these little things, because then we can.
Bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying that you have things that have more power than the language. And again, this is my opinion. Because we have to wrap it up, just to keep it short for the viewers. Yalcin, what is the message you want to give to our audience? What is one thing that you want to say?
I'm not sure. Free and United Cyprus, I think. That's the main message. And I think go on the journey yourselves, and have those balls. I mean, Stavros had real balls. I mean, to come to the north in the face of all of the potential criticism and fear that was put in before we'd even started, and it came from places I didn't expect, to be honest. I'm not going to name any names, but to start from the most eastern point, and it's the most isolated point of Cyprus, and to walk through places he didn't know. He put his trust in it, and I just think, I invite people to just trust in that.
I'll go back to maybe something that you asked before, and we went a little bit sideways. And yes, there is to find a solution, you have to look at the problem.
Yes.
So it is I 100% agree that it's an important part.
My sister told me that because she's a mathematician.
To find a solution, you have to know very well what the problem is. So I think that's an important. I'm not denying that it's not important. I'm just so assume we discover what the problem is, and then we have a blank paper and we can find a solution, right? The solution, it is, you cannot deny that there are two parts.
Yeah.
No, two parts to the solution. One is the human element, which is many different. Cyprus now, it's a multicultural place. There are lots of different communities living on this island. I think the human race is one and diverse. We have to respect everyone and treat everyone equally. And the Cyprus problem, for me, it's a racist problem because this island, which should be one, is divided in the middle. And the division is not a natural one, it's based on ethnicity. So that's the one part of the problem. And the other part of the problem is geopolitics. International geopolitics forces, big powers' interests, Turkey, our neighboring power, which wanted for its own interest the one part of our island, and Greece, the other motherland, which also for its own interests and historical reasons wanted to unite Cyprus with Greece. So if you put the geopolitics, it's the hard part, and there's no denial about that. But without us as Cypriots getting together to solve the first part, then the other part is impossible. And I think solving our differences as Cypriots and as people, it's the one part which is up to us, because the other part is not too much up to us. But if we want a United Cyprus, then those powers, those forces, there is much more likely that they're going to listen to us. And
thank you, guys.
that's what I would like to say.
What I really liked and kept from your documentary was a phrase that one woman, I don't remember the name, said, is when there is will, there is a way. And I wanted really ask people that...
Eleni Nikiadou, it was...
is there a will? Do we really want to find a solution? Are we satisfied with status quo? I'm not satisfied. I really want to find a solution. So we have to find a way. Maybe bi-zonal, bi-communal federation is not the best, the ideal solution that we had in our minds, but is the only common framework that we can discuss right now. Let's make the first step, and after that, we're gonna find a better way to live together.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
This is a proof that we can live together. We don't kill each other. So it's a good news. Honestly, it was a pleasure having you guys.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.